حدثنا محمد بن عبيد الله قال حدثنا عبد العزيز بن أبي حازم عن أبيه عن أبي حازم عن سهل بن سعد رضي الله عنه قال
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Let's take a brief and quick, simple fa'idah from Kitab al-Istiqamah of Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala. He quotes Imam Malik rahimahullah with regards to what I would consider and what I would say is one of the necessary tools or mindset to have for the seeker of knowledge with regards to learning and studying and having someone as a teacher. Shaykh al-Islam rahimahullah, he says, وقال مالك بن أنس رحمه الله أدركت في هذا المسجد 80 رجلا لهم خير وفضل وصلاح كل يقول حدثني أبي عن جدي عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لم نأخذ عن أحد منهم شيئا وكان ابن شهاب يأتينا وهو شاب فنزدحم على بابه لأنه كان يعرف هذا الشأن. Listen to this statement now. Imam Malik rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, in this masjid, meaning the masjid of the Rasul, the Haram of Medina, the Prophet's masjid, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said there were 80 men that I have lived with. I was contemporaries with. Adraktu. I was alive when they were alive. And I had the ability to learn from them and to study with them and for them to teach me. He says each and every one of them, of these 80 men, would say, my father narrated from my grandfather from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. لم نأخذ عن أحد منهم شيئا. And we, Malik, he says about himself and others, we took nothing from them. We didn't take one single narration from these virtuous men. لهم خير وفضل وصلاح. He said they had virtue, they had fadl and excellence over us, وصلاح, and they were righteous and they were pious. And they would say, my father narrated from my grandfather from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. وَكَانَ ibn Shihab, as far as Ibn Shihab, meaning Az-Zuhri, Imam Az-Zuhri, he would come to us and he was a shab, he was a young man, he was a youthful man, he wasn't old, he wasn't a white beard or a gray beard. فَنَزْدَحِمُ عَلَى بَابِهِ, and we would literally crawl, fight, we would literally be stacked upon his door, searching for space, piled up on his door, banging at his door, knocking at his door, begging for him to come out and for him to teach us. Even though he wasn't a white beard, even though he was not an elder. لأنه كان يعرف هذا الشأن. And that's because he was a master at this craft. He was someone who knew this affair, who knew this sha'an, meaning hadith, ilm al-hadith, the fiqh of hadith, the knowledge of hadith. He was someone who had the memory, the skill, the talent. As far as some of those elders and some of those white beards, they had virtue, they were righteous, they were superior Muslims, but they weren't necessarily masters of the craft of hadith. And this is taken from Kitab al-Istiqamah in the first volume, page 202. Page 202 of al-Istiqamah. The main lesson from this hadith is that knowledge in general, the sciences of hadith specifically, they have specific and special men and women that were made and created for ilm al-hadith. And there are other Muslims and other scholars and other righteous people, men and women, that have, inshallah, a status with Allah, a place with Allah, a place in our hearts. But it doesn't mean that they have to be your teachers. And it doesn't mean that they know what they're talking about when it comes to hadith and its sciences. So this hadith shows us of being selective of who is your teacher. And from the characteristics of your teacher is someone who's just righteous and also someone who's skilled and someone who's actually learned. So someone who's learned and skilled, but they're not righteous, that's a problem. Someone who's righteous, he's a good brother, a good sister, but they didn't study. They have not systematically studied Islam. They have not formally studied hadith and the sciences. That's not going to be the person that you take as your specific teacher. So there's going to be a balance. So you have to be selective. And of course, there are many extremes with regards to this. Some people, they only look at someone's what they call a minhaj or a minhaj. That's the only thing that matters. Okay, what they consider to be sunnah, bid'ah, Salafi, non-Salafi. That's the only criterion for a teacher. He's Salafi, I'm going to take from him, even though he never went overseas, he never studied, he can't recite the Fatiha properly, he doesn't know his elbow from his foot in ilm, in fiqh, in hadith, but he's Salafi, so I'm going to learn from him, I'm going to take from him. And he's going to be my sheikh. And then there's another extreme in which those, or before the second extreme, and regardless of the skill and the knowledge of those who are not Salafi, or they're not clear Salafi, we won't take any letter from them. No harf, no matter how much benefit they can provide for us, because they're not Salafi. They're not with this one or that one, this group, this masjid, this dawah organization, etc. And then there are those who don't care who they take from. They have no criterion, no yardstick, no way of discerning who to learn from. Someone who's an open sinner, someone who's openly practicing innovation, someone who hasn't learned, etc., etc. There are different extremes and there are different excesses and a lot of negligence, and people are just totally nonchalant. They don't care on who they take from, who they study from. None of these things are correct, and none of these things are the way of Ahl Hadith, Ahl Sunnah, the Salaf Salih. Rather, they discerned and they looked and they sifted through their teachers, and they looked for the teachers who had the highest and the best credentials in all aspects, in all arenas, not just in one without another. And this hadith, of course, it shows that judging someone by their age, how young they are and how old they are, is not from the way of Ahl Hadith. And it's not from the way of the Salaf Salih to turn into an age game or an age war. You're too young. He's old, he's good. Even though the younger person is better than the older person. And of course, oftentimes people, they mask their jealousy with these different excuses that they make not to learn from someone, not to take from someone, and not to give someone the status and the rights that they actually deserve. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that we ask to guide us and to place us upon the straight path. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.